Hello. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I am back again, and today is Monday, March 23rd. So we are talking about like 8 days or 7 days before we kick off this month. So it's been a very long journey. This month I forgot to upload one time, but I've been uploading every single day so consistently, and even if I missed one day, that video is still there and it's still in the in system. That being said, today is sunny. It looks really good. It does feel hot in the building, and it does feel hot outside. But overall it's pretty good. It's like mid 70s, which is like around 20s Celsius. So that feels good. That feels awesome to go out without a jacket. It's windy a little bit, so you may need a jacket. Other than that, it's pretty great. Today I didn't do anything. I was chatting with my career. I've been doing an outreach. I mentioned that I'm not gonna apply to any job without any referral. As right now, as I'm probably crossed my final years of master's degree, because after this year, next semester, if I take like total units, which is like 12 total units, might be able to graduate by 4. That way I'll be free by 2027. So I'm reaching out to people right now for full-time jobs or internships, right? We are close to May. I haven't heard back from World Bank yet. I don't have any updates from those areas, but I've been reaching out to people, messaging them, and people respond, but telling me there is internships for 2026 I've already closed, so I have to look for full-time jobs into entry-level roles in next coming years. So that being said, I'm just like messaging people and sending out some my documents, and and it's funny that big companies like BlackRock and Wells Fargo, Bank of America, they dominate the mainstream media, but there are some small firms out there that don't necessarily come up in the media, but they're out there and they're hiring and they are looking for people. So and so I've been trying to reach out to people, my friends, my communities, and so far so good. I'm getting some positive feedback. That being said, today Donald Trump, early in the morning, he announced that Iran has accepted to negotiations of peace talks, and Trump has, like I mentioned last time, he sent Marines, almost 2,000 plus Marines to Middle East. But he mentioned that he's not gonna proceed with the military operations in the Middle East until peace talks are over. As far as I know, what is this? I'm trying to remember. He wanted to destroy the power plants in Iran, but he said that in the negotiations, those negotiations will result in having US take over the uranium. Uranium is used to make nuclear weapons. It's the reason why Trump is using it as a ways of bombing Iran. But then hours later, the Iranian parliament responded and said that they did not have any negotiations with Donald Trump. So they said that it was not true. So we don't know. We just, do we having Trump say something, then they say something else. But as we all have seen so far, the government in Iran is sort of, it's not collapsing, but it's not like functioning. So there has to be some misalignment, some misinformation going on over there, because the moment they bombed the Ayatollah's team convoy and the whole buildings, there was no communication. Okay, Israel hacked the entire cameras, so they have control of what's going on over there. So there's a disconnect in the government, and the government is sort of collapsing. But we can't just rule out that it's collapsing, because Iran is not like a typical country like Africa or Middle East or somewhere. They have a really good systems. When you destroy one leader, they appoint a new leader. So they are sort of like united. They are not like divided yet. So that's a good news. But the parliament said that Trump did not, sort of like allow, like it was not true that there was a negotiation. So we don't know. Overall, I think we need negotiations between the three countries, Israel, Iran, and the US. And then if US gets access to these uranium products, maybe that could ease the tensions, and that could give US a peace of mind. Last week, I believe, Iran sent missile to Lagasia. It's like an island in the middle of the ocean, far from Iran. Which is, if you look at I was looking at the map last time, right? The proximity. I was talking about how Iran is too far from the United States, so there should be no worries at all. But now that they are capable of sending these bombs to like in the middle of the ocean and they target a specific tiny island where the US stations their military there, the further shows that there needs to be worries, and this has made NATO scared even more, because previously NATO has not. They never really they said that US was provoking it, US was in the wrong, which makes sense. But when Israel says Iran is an enemy, as far as I know, they have all the investigations. They're probably right? They know there's some bad guys in there who can do bad things. So now NATO has kind of backed up their mind, right? They are rethinking their decisions. Same with Africa. Countries like Egypt are not safe from those nuclear warlords, right? You don't want somebody who has nuclear weapons and they have a functioning government to be close to you, right? So what they did was seen as a reason why Trump was even further confirmed that he's gonna destroy the entire Iran government and military bases. So that being said, that's where we are. The key things here: the gas price is still expensive. It hasn't gone down. I haven't bought gas yet. The one I bought last time, if you see my videos, it's still the same. But I haven't bought gas prices yet. I haven't bought gas yet, so I don't know the gas prices, but I'm sure they are pretty high right now. They are probably close to $4 right now on every gas station, and then the diesel is almost $5. I want to talk about something here. Gas prices are affecting Trump's ratings. Okay, Trump's ratings going dramatically down because of gas prices. But why? Back in 2024, 2025, 2024, 2023, 2022, the gas prices were higher. Okay, that's after COVID was opening up, and Joe Biden did not get a lower rating because of gas prices. It was not a part of the equation. Okay, people from the South who do vote the Republicans, they did not like Joe Biden they use gas prices as an excuse, but we don't see the numbers dropping in California, Washington or New York City, because the gas prices has gone down. Has gone up. So there was no effects on the political side for Joe Biden. Donald Trump, however, when the gas prices went down, Donald Trump's rating dramatically decreased among the voters who voted for him. In fact, not once, but twice. Those who voted for him in 2016 and 2024, they both complained that the gas prices have been the reason why they changed. They choose not to vote Republicans in November again. So coming up in November, we are going to see a lot of Democrats flooding in Washington D.C. here in D.C. I'll be here. If I get a job, I may have to move, but I'm gonna be here. And even if I leave, this I wanna be visiting here once in a while, because I love DC. Everybody should visit DC once in a while. It's a really good city, especially the governments and the conferences going on here, policies going on here. Anyways, so The why is the gas price right now affecting Trump's rating, and all the Republicans are being affected much more than any other politician since 1970s. All politicians all the Republican politicians who have had gas prices going up in the past, they all lost the election at the end. Now Trump will not run again, but even if he doesn't, whoever's gonna replace him and replace his party, become the chairman of the Republican Party, that person is going to lose, no matter how many times they try. That's because people who are Republicans have already switched. I have friends who are Republicans, they're like, we're done, like no more. Okay. It doesn't mean they hate Republicans president, just because they don't like the way things are being run. Right. So why though? Why is the gas price has gone up in the past, right? It has gone up to like $4 or $5, going back down again. But we didn't see that this much people shifting their political views. It has to do with three things. Number one was the firing of federal workers. When the Republicans said they don't wanna Trump to fire federal workers, they thought he's gonna be firing people whom they deemed to be employed because of the DEI. DEI is a big debate. Now it's disappearing, but it's a big debate. The DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion, which means that they hire these people not because they are competent, but because they are either gender or specific race. Now there's no proof that that was true, but that was an excuse that was used by Donald Trump to win the election. That worked. People voted for him, and when he became a president, he hired Elon Musk to fire all the federal workers whom he think are not competent for the job. So he did. When he fired them, everything they were doing, all the services they were doing, they all became corruption. The services, like Medicare, food stamp, in mental issues, right? The healthy, like all those things were affected. The people who live in the Republican states suffered the most. Why? Because these people, they have low income. If they live in the rural areas, they don't pay that much taxes in their area, so they rely heavily on the federal government. So when the federal workers were fired, those programs were cut. People in the democratic states, they tend to have high taxes, which means they have more money saved. So when the programs were cut, they jumped in and they helped. An example is like Virginia. When federal workers were cut or fired in Virginia jumped in and they hired the federal workers. On top of that, they also spend money in some other programs, non-profits programs. Okay, so they have the money. Virginia is a like a liberal state, so they do have money. California did not get affected, like things kept working normal. So do states like New York, right? States like Alabama, Mississippi, New Orleans, and other states in the South, and sometimes in the Midwest, Arizona, Nevada, they all got affected because they didn't have fundings because the federal government was cut off, so they got really, really pissed. Now Trump was like, it's gonna be okay, things will be fine, so maybe they're gonna hire new people. It was a start, it was a beginning, right? This was in May, from February to March to April 2025. It was all fresh. So my thinking at the time, I was thinking maybe he's gonna fire everybody, then hire new people. Unfortunately, he didn't bring any other solution. Few months later on, there was budget pass. The budget was including cutting all the services. They had to shut down the government. Some workers went the workers who got fired, they went to court. They sued. They won a lot of lawsuits and money. This money was well spent. By the end of 2025, the government has spent more money than they wanted to save. So Republicans did not really care. They didn't look much to it. In the midst of that conflicting and those decisions, Trump did another thing that was very deal breaker. He passed the tariffs. At first, he passed the tariffs. those tariffs went out there, and when they were still in effect, he passed another tariffs that was known as reciprocal tariff. This is something my research on. I'm trying to look it up on how does reciprocal tariffs actually affect areas like healthcare, pharmaceutical industries, medical industries, hospitals, right? Um, it passes reciprocal tariffs, and these tariffs came in as a bummer because people who are, if for instance, if you work in a company, the company is buying products from Canada, that product now is subject to tariffs. But also not only that is not is, but also not only that, but also those tariffs can change at any moment. They can change back and forth. The company in Canada is gonna have to increase the prices so much higher so that if the tariff goes all the way infinitely to 20%, the Canadian company can actually get profits. So the prices jumped up for specific products. Sometimes it wasn't direct, sometimes it was indirect. Okay, sometimes things would get affected indirectly because of the tariffs. So many states will rely heavily on manufacturing, warehouse, right? Factories, restaurants, agricultural products, farms, they all got affected by the tariffs. So the Republican people who most likely work in these blue-collar work jobs, they got pissed again. But later on, there was a negotiation, so the tariffs were reduced and cut down, so that helped a lot. There was also a lawsuit, so this 2025, 2026, the Supreme Court rules tariffs as illegal, so they asked the government to refund the money back to the to the companies. In the midst of that, 1 month later, the Trump administration also went on to attack Iran. So people have not yet recovered from the government layoff. They have not yet recovered from the they haven't yet recovered from the tariffs. Now you add on this war in Iran, which now adds even an extra constraint on the Republican people, and nobody was pissed so much like the Republican Party leaders, those who are in Congress, those who are in power, those who are in the Senate, the Republican governors. They all started being asked or questioned by their residents, by their own people. What are you doing to Trump? Why not holding him accountable? Why did you let him get away with everything? Right, so they are questioning these questions and it's becoming more of a pressure. Okay, so when attacking the Iran, the gas prices went all the way on the roof. It started to increase, and the people started to question. Okay, yes, it's justifiable to attack Iran, but could you just wait maybe until to the residents, to the American people, the question will be, could you just wait until you see if there was going to be any consequences on gas? Maybe if there was going to be to attack on Iran, we could have hired somebody like a federal worker, like an intelligence, to assess the consequences. Maybe see if we attack Iran, the gas prices goes up. Can we rely on another country, right, to supply oil so that we don't have price going up, right? How do we ensure we don't lose men and women who are going to be dying in the war? What about the aircraft equipments, right? Right. So that's the question people are asking, but Americans are asking themselves. Now, for the Republican leaders in the Congress or in the House, they have a different question. The question they have is, could you do this? Could you have done this at least after the election? Because doing this before November is putting these guys in a huge trouble. Because first of all, he shouldn't be starting the war without asking Congress for the confirmation. But he can do whatever he wants. He's the president. But here's the problem. The Republican Party, not only did they get left out, but also they are going to be facing huge questions from their residents, asking them, why did you let him do this? Right? So many of them, with no answers to give, they chose to resign. And for the first time in history, the US government sees many Republican people resigning in large numbers. They are all resigning left, right, left, right. They don't want to deal with it. Why? Because Donald Trump, he does things on his own. Sometimes he listens to you, sometimes he doesn't. He just that's how he works. So this is what's going on right now. But still, I haven't answered the question: why are the people, the residents, so angry at the gas prices? I mean, can they be patient a little bit for like a month or two? The price can go down. Well, here's the reason. If you watch my video in the past when I was driving to buy gas, I mentioned how for me, even though I don't have money, I'm not the richest person, having gas prices at $3 is not a big deal. Why? Because I lived in the liberal states, California, and have spent so much money on gas prices, as high as $7 to $8 a gallon. So I'm used to spend more money. Even though it sounds like a stupid thing to say, when the gas prices went up, I didn't feel affected as much. I started to think the best way to adapt, maybe drive less, maybe drive only for good reasons, maybe buy a bike, or maybe use a public transportation, okay? Or maybe buy online, like I can buy online and pick it up. Having that idea, having that options is being taught in big liberal cities, or known as blue cities. Blue cities people, they think critically, they think ways of adapting instead of like pushing something. So in California, yes, the gas price is almost $5, but for them it's not a big deal because they're used to paying high prices. However, in the states that are cheaper, like the southern states, these states are used to pay low gas prices. They have been programmed to rely on the cheap stuff, cheap food, cheap gas, cheap diesel, cheap labor. Now all of a sudden everything is becoming more expensive. Not only are they paying the prices, not only are they paying taxes in form of tariffs, they're also paying high prices on gas. So somebody who lives in the South who voted for Trump, and because they wanted to see gas prices going down to $1.80, and it did, then all of a sudden to see a president in the power whom they voted for to reduce gas prices, to see the prices going up, they question it, they think about it, they think why. For them, they don't think like we need to bomb Iran and disarm their nuclear weapons. It doesn't help them. It doesn't. People who live in California, they do care. They do care that Iran gets to be a free country and eventually stop imposing policies on the whatever you can say, women's rights, whatever. For them, they are okay. People in the South, they are not okay with that. People voting for Trump, they don't care about that. They don't care if US doesn't go to Middle East. They don't care. They can only do that. They can only support that if it's going to benefit American people. But if it's going to cost somebody in the South who makes $10 an hour, cost them to spend almost 20%, 30%, 40% of their income on gas to commute long distances. Most of these guys commute long distances anyways. That is not feasible for them, and they don't like that. So that has been the reason why it affected Trump is very, very upset, and not upset, but he's very, very scared. It's the reason why he's trying his best to give all these fake news all the time. Like he says, we have negotiations with Iran, we are going to take over the uranium, we have obliterated, I don't know how to pronounce that word, but basically like he has destroyed their entire nuclear sites and military sites. Whenever there is a bombing, whenever Iran bombs Israel, bombs US military bases, they don't talk about in the US news. We only see that from the other news, right? That's because this Republican Party, they are just questioning like why. Right. Republican people are Christians, so they like Israel, but they don't like what Israel is doing, but they do like Israel as a country and as a holy site, Jerusalem. So they want to see this country being safe, 100%. Anything that triggers safety makes them question things. Areas like Texas, they are very, 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 very Christian people. They are very invested. They spend so much money in DC here, okay, just to convince politicians to do what they wanted them to do, right? So all that being said, if you ever wonder why is Republican Party now all of a sudden very upset, very angry, and the gas prices went up a little bit, it's because they are not used to pay high gas prices. They're not used to pay high rent. They're not used to pay high housing market. Okay, so when things go up, and wait, we haven't even seen the inflation yet. Inflation is gonna kick on in a couple months to come, because if the new president comes in, if a new leader comes in, and if in June we get a new a new Federal Reserve Bank chairman, we are going to see probably a lower interest rate, which is going to lead into more investments, and this could push up the prices on the top. Okay, they're not gonna like that either. So what can we expect to see right now? I'm not an advisor for Donald Trump, neither will I ever be. But Trump has two choices to make right now, and his team. Number one is to ensure that he can end the war in Iran as soon as possible. Then he can allow ships to move to the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran has used that as a negotiation tactic. Okay. Number two, US can stop sending army and weapons to Middle East, because that's costing a lot of money. Plus, a lot of aircrafts are crashing, not because they're getting attacked by Iran, but they are crashing for things like accidents, right? I mentioned this in the past. Iran is very difficult. You can see on the map, if you pop the map up, you can say Iran is very, it's like if you've been to Arizona desert or Nevada deserts, that's how Iran looks like. It's very complicated, extremely hard, very hard to navigate. Brutal atmosphere. It's a very hard place, right? So the pilots in the United States, who are trained in a very nice, good-looking area, they cannot handle that intensive area. So Americans don't want to see more casualties. They don't want to see more death that isn't being killed by Iran, but is being killed by things like explosions or debris, those accidents, and all that kind of stuff. All right, that's all I want to say at this moment. So Donald Trump one choice is that he can end the war, allow the Strait of Hormuz, allow the trade to keep going, and that will cut the gas prices down, and we will not see an effects after, because if this goes on for next month, by April, we could see a huge jump on other prices, on the groceries, on food, commodities, like all the things could jump up, and this could also affect the US dollar. So it might go down. So very interesting stuff to know here. All that he needs to do this at least by June or July, because November is coming up and it's going to be really difficult. Because if you think about it, in May we have a holiday coming up. We have Veterans Day coming up, so they're gonna have holidays. In June they're gonna be summer. People they're gonna go to summer. They don't be back until September. In September, then by October, then by November we have an election. So very short time right now for Donald Trump to back up and do the right thing. Okay, and that's going to be really difficult. Second thing he can do is talk to American people. Okay, invest the money, fix unemployment rate. The youngest, I'm an example here. Even though he deported most migrants, there has been zero migration happening right now between the US and other countries. But many migrants, even though they're not coming in, those who are Americans, those who are already here, they still struggle to get a full-time job. Something he needs to fix. Okay, he can do this by aggressively telling companies to hire people. Okay, he can do this by passing policies that will ensure that companies don't use AI to fire workers. Right? He can do this, and he's been aggressively being anti-corporations. Okay, so he's been leading towards, what he's been doing is like a mix of extreme Republican versus extreme Democrat. So it's been like very going back and forth. Right? That's why it's very hard. It's very complicated to predict him. That being said, thanks for watching, and I hope that things will change. And again, if things changes, there's jobs, there's less gas prices, good news. I mean, why not, right? Americans, they don't care who's in the power, as long as whoever's in the power is going to do the right thing. At the end of the day, we only have two political parties. That's all we have, right? And that's what I have for today. Thanks for watching. I always ciao, adios, spasiba. Go out there, have fun, and hopefully that it's not gonna rain the whole week. I think it's gonna rain the whole week. It looks like it's gonna be really nice. I don't have any news to share. The IC agents have been deployed to every single airport to assist with shortages of staff because of the government shutdown. The DHS underfunded. Other than that, thanks for watching, and like always, goodbye, ciao, adios, and spasiba. Thanks for watching. Bye.